Hello everyone, welcome to Veranda IAS. Students, in today's session, we will be continuing with the previous year question analysis for the prelims examination. Now, in this session, we will be discussing about some of the questions that have been asked in the previous year's prelims examination, and I will actually try to show you that what should be the right approach that is to be followed by you while answering such questions. Okay? So let's move on. Now, again, like we have already discussed, that the approach here in this particular session is that we have to analyze the questions which have been asked in the previous years. Again and again, repeatedly, students, I am telling you this thing, that the objective, everything, every single step that you will take, it has to start from your NCERTs. You have to focus, you have to follow your NCERTs religiously. Okay, now let's come back to the question. With reference to Mia Tansen, which one of the following statements is not correct? This question was asked in 2019. Tansen was the title given to him by Emperor Akbar. Tansen composed Dhrupads on Hindu gods and goddesses. Tansen composed songs on his patrons. Tansen invented many ragas. See, not correct if I am referring here. Okay, so with the reference to this particular question, medieval India, it is part of medieval India, and yes, the details can be found in Satish Chandra, a book that I have recommended you guys for your preparation or completing the syllabus for medieval India. Now, in that book, you will very easily find this, that the title Tansen was not given by Emperor Akbar. By the way, Mia Tansen, the name was actually Pandey. Okay, rest of the options there which are mentioned here, they are absolutely correct. So we were looking for the non-correct one. So Tansen was the title that was not given by Emperor Akbar. Okay, next, which or what is common to two historical places known as Ajanta and Mahabalipuram? Question that was asked in 2016. Okay, both were built in the same period, both belong to the same religious denominations, and both have rock cut monuments. Now, one thing about which I am very much confident, Ajanta and Mahabalipuram, they are rock cut monuments. The caves of Ajanta, they are rock cut monument. Same goes with Mahabalipuram. That means one option that I'm absolutely clear here is that the third one, statement number 3, has to be your correct answer. Now let's look at your right answers. What exactly are that? Both were built in the same period. No, they weren't built in the same period. Both belong to the same religious denomination. Not the only thing, similarity which we have here is with the idea of rock cut monuments. Now again, students, when you will be going across art and culture, and the idea has been mentioned in the Tamil Nadu NCERTs, so it will be very easy, very simple for you guys to actually understand that what is the relevance here. All I'm saying here is, again and again, this is not a test. It is just I'm trying to show you that these are the questions and how you can actually approach, from where actually the questions have been asked, the data is being provided to you here. Okay, next. With reference to the British colonial rule in India, consider the following statements. Mahatma Gandhi was instrumental in the abolition of the system of indentured labor. In Lord Chelmsford's war conference, Mahatma Gandhi did not support the resolution on recruiting Indians for World War. Consequent upon the breaking of salt law by Indian people, the Indian National Congress was declared illegal by the rulers. Now, this question was asked in the year 2019. Again, indentured labor. I have already mentioned you the idea of indentured labor in my previous session. What exactly was that? I gave you an example from the West Indian cricket team. Many players, okay, Dinesh Ramadeen, Shiv Narayan Chandrapal, their names are of Indian origin, okay? But how can you find people there All these people, their ancestors were taken as indentured laborers, primarily, specifically from the areas of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. And later on, they served their entire life there and they died itself. Their generations kept on living there. And later on, we are today seeing them as what they are exactly. Secondly, Lord Chelmsford. Okay, all of you must have heard of the Montague-Chelmsford reform, or you can say the idea that was brought by Montague and Chelmsford. After the Maudlin Minto reforms, there were the Montague-Chelmsford reforms. Now here there is a description of war conference. Now when you will read Bipin Chandra or when you will read Spectrum, you will get a very clear cut idea about that. Also, when you will go through your NCRTs with reference to Dandi March and the movement that actually started after that. What was that movement? What was the name of that movement? It was the Civil Disobedience Movement. So what happened after that? What was the initiative that was taken by the Britishers, okay, in order to stop Congress, okay? So what was that? So here, the correct answer, in Lord Chelmsford War Conference, Mahatma Gandhi did not support the resolution on recruiting Indians for war. No, Gandhi supported it. That means we are actually asking for which of the following are the correct statements. The correct statements are number 1. Indentured labor's role of Mahatma Gandhi in indentured labor abolition system, and the number 1 was actually the Congress was declared an illegal outfit by the British Crown at that point of time. Okay, so option number 1 and option 3, they are your correct answer. See how simple, how easy they are. Now if you have actually gone through the NCRTs, okay, and just any one referral book, and moreover, you leave a referral book aside, if you have just focused on the session that was taken by the tutor, you would have easily answered this question. Okay, so that's exactly what I am trying to convince to you guys. The Swadeshi and boycott were adopted as a method of struggle for the first time during a question that was asked in 2016. The idea of Swadeshi and boycott, it was actually introduced by the extremist at that point of time when the partition of Bengal took place. Okay, and Lord Curzon, who was the person responsible for this partition, when the partition took place on 16th of October 1905, the idea of Swadeshi and boycott was adopted by Congress party. It was an idea that was suggested by the extremists. Later on, the moderates also supported it. Okay, so it was against the agitation against the partition of Bengal. This is your correct answer. The rest of the options are Home Rule Movement, Non-Cooperation Movement, visit of the Simon Commission. No, way before all these events happened, because Home Rule Movement happened in 1916, Non-Cooperation 1920-21, okay, Simon Commission 1927-28, okay. So way before all these events have taken place, partition of Bengal took place on 1905, and the idea of Swadeshi and boycott were adopted as a method of struggle at that point of time for the very first time. Next, with reference to the Rowlatt Satyagraha, which of the following statements is or are correct? Question asked in 2015. The Rowlatt Act was based on the recommendation of the Sedition Committee. In Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to utilize the Home Rule League. Demonstrations against the arrival of the Simon Commission coincided with Rowlatt Satyagraha. No, if you have read NCRTs, you will be very sure that the third option cannot be your answer. Why? Because Rowlatt Satyagraha, it came during 1918. It was called as a Black Act. Okay, it was the protest against this Rowlatt Act that the Jallianwala massacre took place. And Simon Commission, it came in the year 1927, December 1927. So obviously the third one definitely cannot be your correct answer. That means the answers option 1, option number 3 and option number 4, they cannot be taken as your correct answer. What about the rest of the options? Let's see. The correct answer are both the statements. The Rowlatt Act was based on the recommendations of the Sedition Committee. The Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to utilize the Home Rule League. So both the statements 1 and 2, they are your right answer. description of this can be found very easily in Spectrum. In Spectrum, it is very clearly mentioned that the Rowlatt Act was passed on the recommendations of the Sedition Committee. Okay, so again, see what exactly is the level. The level is nothing. It is very easy. It is really very simple. All you have to do is you have to just focus. You have to just follow the right approach. That's it. Okay, next question. Who of the following organized a march on the Tanjore coast to break the salt law in April 1930? See, it was a question that was asked in 2015. Now, salt law, salt satyagraha. Dandi March, followed by civil disobedience movement. Now, when this happened, you have a very direct mention of this entire situation in both your NCRTs as well as your Spectrum. Tanjore coast, okay, it was Chakravarti Raja Gopalachari who was a Gandhian, and he followed this approach and he broke the salt law in the coast of Tanjore. C. Raja Gopalachari, there is a direct mention of the name. Okay, so the correct answer here is C. Raja Gopalachari. Everything that has been asked in the prelims examination, you can find it. Majority of the things they can be seen in the NCRTs, okay, as well as with reference to the sessions that will be taken by the tutor. Okay, you have to attend those sessions. All these things, all these ideas will be conveyed very clearly, very directly to you. Okay, now next. Which of the following is a very significant aspect of the Champaran Satyagraha? A question that was asked in 2018. Active all India participation of lawyers, students and women in the national movement. Active involvement of Dalit and tribal communities of India in the national movement. Joining of peasants' unrest to India's national movement. Drastic decrease in the cultivation of plantation crops and commercial crops. See, this question can be a bit technical, but if you have studied about Gandhiji, ultimately this question can be answered by you very easily. Now, whenever somebody says Champaran Satyagraha, we all know that Gandhiji arrived India on 9th of January 1915. He did not immediately participated in the India's national movement. He waited for some time. He took a complete tour of India. His political guru was Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Servants of Indian Society, if you have heard, okay. He was also a moderate member, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. So when Gandhiji saw the entire situation of the country, it was the first event. Champaran Satyagraha was the first event where Gandhiji participated and the term, the ideology of Satyagraha came into existence. It was the first political initiative that was taken by Mahatma Gandhi in India after he came from South Africa. Now, Champaran Satyagraha actually launched. In fact, there were 3 events. Number 1, it was Champaran Satyagraha. Second, it was Kheda Satyagraha. And the third, it was the Ahmedabad mill strike. These events were the actual ones which casted Mahatma Gandhi as the most important, most prominent leader in the independence struggle for our country. Now, let's come to what exactly is happening here. See, when Champaran Satyagraha happened, it happened in Bihar. The participation that was made, it was made only by the local peasants who were actually against the Teen Kathiya system. Okay, it is quite mentioned in your NCRTs, you can see. However, a detailed version of it is present in Spectrum, okay, or Bipin Chandra. So the participants weren't students or lawyers, and moreover, it was not a national movement, but it actually paved the way for the inclusion of farmers into the national movements. It were the peasants who were absolutely unhappy with the administration. And ultimately, what happened? We saw farmers, peasants entering into the national movement whenever Mahatma Gandhi called them upon. Okay, so the correct answer here would be the joining of peasants' unrest to India's national movement. So again, once again, I'm telling you again and again, the right approach that is to be followed. See, UPSC is difficult. UPSC is difficult. Yes, it is difficult, but it is something that can be cracked with a very right approach and a very right attitude. Okay. So, students, this was with today's session. Thank you very much.